There are certain values, certain things that can never be taken away from us. Famously, Viktor Frankl, in Man's Search for Meaning, after surviving Auschwitz, said, the values that I saw in Auschwitz, the free choice, the values that people had, were theirs to decide. In Auschwitz, he said, I saw people acting like animals and people choosing to act as angels. I saw people stealing selfishly other people's bread. And I saw people giving away selflessly their last piece of bread. There are certain values, no matter what we're stripped of, are always ours and part and parcel of who we are. Incredibly, we see in the Torah that only two values are called a morasha, an inheritance for each and every Jew, that all of us have a unique personal connection, intimate connection to them. Torah and Eretz Yisrael. It says at the end of the Torah, Torah tzivelanu Moshe, morasha kilat Yaakov. The Torah is a morasha, an inheritance that we receive and bequeath to future generations. But so too, we see in the beginning of this week's Parasha, is Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. When Moshe is promised by God that the redemption is going to come, the suffering is not forever, and I will redeem them, the famous 4 expressions of redemption, I will bring you out. Then says the 5th one, I will bring you out to the land that I promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, and I will give it to you. Morasha ani Hashem, as an inheritance to every Jew. And incredibly, there are only 2 things that each and every one of us have our, what the sages say, daled amot, our 4 paces, our unique connection with, our daled amot of Torah, and our unique connection, our 4 spaces and paces, so to speak, in Eretz Yisrael. Incredibly, these are the great challenges that we face today. The challenge of Torah, of deep Jewish, spiritual and religious values. We live in a world of so much, unfortunately, a culturalization and assimilation. So many Jews leaving the fold. A lack of deep-rooted Torah values and spiritual values. The need to deepen our Jewish identity and destiny. And at the same time, the centrality of Israel and Eretz Israel. There are many today who speak in a postmodern language. We don't need nationalism. We don't need countries. We don't need anything particular. We delete and erase these markers of identity. And the Torah says no. Part of our very essence and identity is both the Torah and our value system and our mystical connection to Israel, which has survived millennia and generations in suffering and distance. Nothing could keep the Jewish people away from their desire to return, because there's something about our connection to Torah and Israel which go to the core of who we are. And may each one of us deepen that identity and destiny of furthering the values of our connection to Torah and our connection to the incredible land and state of Israel. Shabbat Shalom.